Right. Acting Johannesburg Mayor Kenny Kunene will be joined by various government departments today in the CBD, where they will be evicting residents living in buildings that are torn down. Now, the city says this is an effort to ensure that buildings in the CBD are not illegally occupied. Let's get more on this developing story. We're joined now by Acting Johannesburg Mayor Kenny Kunene. Very good morning to you. Thank you so much for your time. Welcome to Newzroom Afrika. You'll be taking the reins for a short while in the city of Johannesburg as acting mayor. You'll be hard at work as of this morning, joined by various government departments in the CBD, where you'll be evicting residents living in these torn down buildings. How is this process going to pan out?
Thank you very much for having me, and thank you good morning to your viewers. Yesterday we were in Berea due to concerns and complaints about one of the buildings there, Casamea. And we went to meet with the residents of Casamea. This is an interdepartmental program that we are doing. We're joined by the MMC for Public Safety, MMC for Human Settlement, and also the CEO of Joshko, because Joshko owns the building. And if you go through these buildings, you will realize the state that these buildings are. Some of them, or most of them, actually have got dumping sites inside the buildings. Children are being raised in these buildings. EMS has declared these buildings very unsafe. And some of the residents of the adjacent buildings are complaining that they are paying for services, and these hijacked buildings have become crime hotspots. People mug them, they run into these buildings, they cannot be found. So we really have to act and make sure that the safety of the people come first, but also the city suffers a great loss of revenue due to these hijacked buildings, because they don't pay for services. Electricity is being connected illegally, water is being connected illegally. So we went to meet the residents of this building, and today there is a meeting from 8 o'clock until 10 o'clock, and I will then get feedback from the MMC of Human Settlement, MMC Anthea Leach, on the program that we are going to have. You must understand that some of the buildings, they are not owned by one department. They are owned by different departments or entities. Yeah. This particular one is owned by Joshko. Most of the buildings are under JPC. So the MMC of JPC is not around. She's also out on official business. And therefore, we will then wait for her to come back so that we can continue with this process. We will be visiting some buildings again today. I cannot mention them now, exactly which buildings we'll be visiting. But our program is clear. Our intentions are very clear. Yeah. Is to remove the people who have hijacked these buildings.
With intentions very clear, your efforts come on the back of the recent spate of attacks on immigrant communities in and around the Joburg CBD. I mean, a very forceful mass eviction, allegedly by Operation Dudula members of about 400 people from the Ellis Park building, also called the CB building, in December. How different is your approach going to be?
Obviously, we come in as the city, and that is why the MMC of Public Safety is also part of this, so that the JMPD, Johannesburg Metro Department Police, can also be part of this program, so that they can enforce the bylaws. EMS is also invited to be part of this program, so that they can also do an assessment of the buildings and legally give a letter that says that this building is not safe. So we are not just going in and removing people. Today we are talking to the MMC of Health and Social Development to see if we can assist those who do not have work and place them elsewhere. But those who have work, they then have to find alternative accommodation. In fact, at this particular building that is called Casamea, Josco did an assessment there where they went to ask the residents of this particular building, and they found out that some of them earn between 5 and 23,000 rands per month, and yet they are not paying for services, they are not paying for anything. So such people must then go out there and find alternative accommodation. But those who do not have, we will see if health and social development is able to accommodate them. One thing that we must understand is that we cannot allow a situation where people commit crimes, they break the law, and then they come back, they want to use the law to protect themselves. Once you hijack a building, you have committed a crime. You have the word hijack, it means you have occupied that building illegally. And when you are now being removed, you want to use the law that there's a process of removing people. Those buildings have got traps inside them, booby traps. As you are walking, there are drains that you cannot even see because it's so dark in those buildings. When you look at the rats are so fat all over. These are the type of rats, when a baby is lying on the bed, they will be eating on the toes of the baby. So the situation there is not only unsafe, it's very much unhealthy. And I will be posting some of the videos that we took as we were working inside the building. You will assume that we are working outside. And most of the buildings are just like that. Remember, the city cannot provide services to buildings that don't pay services.
Yeah.
And people are saying that, no, we are dumping because Pick It Up is not providing us dustbins. How can Pick It Up provide criminals with dustbins? You have hijacked a building, you have occupied it illegally, you are not paying for services. So Pick It Up can't service you. Pick It Up must go and service the people that are paying for services. Yeah. So we are trying to renovate these buildings. Some of them will be demolished and rebuilt so that people can stay in safe buildings. We have other associations like the taxi associations who are also, we have also made a request to me that they want to lease or buy certain hijacked buildings so that they can renovate them and accommodate their taxi drivers and their families. So these type of private partnerships are very important in making sure that we address this situation in the city of Johannesburg. You can never bring Johannesburg to its former glory. You can never bring Hillbrow, Berea, Yeoville to its former glory for as long as you have illegality going on as if it's normal, as if it's legal.
The illegal occupiers have indeed taken advantage of the law. I mean, you speak about how, they use the law when what they're doing is criminal, but they have managed to do it. I mean, if you look at CB House, for instance, the building owners applied for, filed court papers as soon as 2011, but that application was opposed by the occupiers who requested that the city assist them by providing alternative accommodation. So providing alternative accommodation is going to be really imperative in this process, because that is what the illegal occupiers are then using to say that if you're throwing us out, where do we go?
Yes, it's a tricky one. And you ask yourself, where do they get the money for the lawyers to run to the courts, yet they don't want to pay services? And I think that, look, we also cannot ignore the law. However, our legal teams must prepare properly for the courts. And I think the courts must understand that this hijacking of buildings it's a serious cause for concern, and we need to deal with it. Some of the people who have occupied these buildings are South Africans. Some of them are foreigners. And what is even painful, and I was saying to these residents, for me, is that there are syndicates who are actually taking rental from these people who are staying in these unsafe buildings. There are serious syndicates that are collecting money from them on a monthly basis. But they are also afraid to come forward when we ask them, give us the numbers, the names of the people that are taking rental from you. So it is a criminal syndicate that is operating these buildings. We cannot go on like this and allow illegality to happen. And I'm happy that the MMCs are committed. In as much as we are committed, the MMCs are committed to making sure that we correct this situation so that we can protect our people.
Yeah, and it's a commitment that will need to come with consistency because, of course, you speak about criminal syndicates sometimes being at the forefront. What will stop the syndicate from continuing its operation once you've taken the occupiers out? You could find that in a week's time back where you initially started. What measures are in place to safeguard these buildings once the process has unfolded and you've managed to clean out the buildings?
Look, this specific building of Joshko, I understand that a service provider has been appointed. Joshko also went to court and they got eviction orders. There was a service provider appointed. Once these people come out, the service provider then comes in to set up, and then a security company is provided. The Metro Police have committed that they will then patrol the building whilst it is being renovated, whilst it is being brought back to its safer condition. So those are the mitigating ways of dealing with it. But those that a process must still unfold of appointing a service provider, we will then have to put a barbed wire, put a security on site so that the building is guarded until such time that a service provider is appointed, or until such time that a private company that has interest in the building, having gone through the processes with the city, they are able to take it over. But we are going to put barbed wire once we evict people, and the Metro Police are going to make sure that they patrol this building. One of the other concerns is that these buildings are also drug dens. Drugs are being hidden in these buildings. Drug lords are hiding themselves in these buildings. There is a building that we informed about in Perea that is a drug den. You can't even go in. You just get shot at. But we are saying nobody can fight government and win. You can't declare war on police. Yeah. We are going to visit that building also, and we are going to make sure that all those drugs are confiscated. We are going to make sure that the criminals are arrested. So, yeah, those are the mitigating ways of dealing with it, putting a barbed wire, putting up a security company there, and having Metro Police to patrol the area.
Very well. Thank you so much. Let's perhaps leave it there for now. Wishing you the best today. Acting Johannesburg Mayor Kenny Kunene speaking about the plan that's in place when it comes to evicting residents living in buildings that are torn down in the Joburg CBD. That, of course, will continue to keep a very close eye on throughout the course of this morning.